Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to talk about Ancient Abyss. And Ancient Abyss is a Zelda-like action roguelite that just came out in early access that has a lot of promise, but is being held back by being very rough around the edges for an early access launch. And before we get into the review, I do just want to let you guys know that I was given a review copy of the game in order to make a video for you all. I never let that influence my reviews, I just like staying super transparent with you all. So Ancient Abyss right off the bat looks incredible. It has this very unique cartoony pixel art with really nice animations, and I think that combined with the fact that it's kind of like Zelda-ish really drew a lot of people into the game. And the game has pretty solid combat that tends to be a little slower paced than other games in the genre, but I think it kind of makes things a little bit more methodical. The combat isn't the best, most groundbreaking combat I have played, but it gets the job done in my opinion. From there, it plays very similarly to other roguelites. You go from room to room clearing enemies, getting new weapons that I'll touch on in a minute, and getting upgrades at occasional upgrade shrine things. And one thing I do think this game does very well is the upgrades. Every time you go to an upgrade shrine, which there's about 1 to 2 on each floor, you get to choose one of 3 different upgrades. What I love about this is that most of the upgrades are really unique. They aren't just like stat boosts, they are cool things, like every time you get hit, you can hit the enemy that hurt you in order to get some health back, or you deal double damage but the enemies deal double damage to you, or every time you deal double damage, you heal a little health. And so having a ton of different unique upgrades makes having the decent combat even better because you're kind of trying to exploit the game a little with the different upgrades in different ways. And it definitely feels like one of those roguelites where when you're doing good, it makes you feel clever because it makes you think like you did some synergy or combination of upgrades to almost like break the game a little bit. I do think the upgrades could use a little balancing. Some of them do seem way better than others, but I imagine that'll come with time as the developers give it, development time in early access. The progression in the game is very stereotypical as well. You get 2 types of currency slowly in runs, one which allows you to get standard stat boosts like more health, stamina, or stamina recharge rate, and the other allows you to get new abilities for your different weapons and level up those abilities. And this is another interesting part about Ancient Abyss. You have several different weapon types in the game, and honestly, at first they feel very similar to each other, but slowly as you get the out-of-game progression, you unlock new abilities for your weapons. So this could be something like you can now parry with your greatsword if you attack when they attack you, or it could be some cool dashing attacks for your light swords. And I think the way this system is presented could maybe be a little bit more polished, but overall the concept is pretty cool and it makes you start to figure out which weapons you like and focus on so you can upgrade them. I would love to see more unique weapons being added in the game in the future though. So you have a very solid stereotypical action roguelite that's made really cool with a couple awesome features like the unique upgrades and different weapons, but like happens with a lot of roguelites that come out in early access, the game is very rough around the edges. And I do believe that a lot of these issues will be fixed over time. That's why I wanted to talk about what the game has going for it first, but as a reviewer, I do need to also review the game for how it plays right now. And as of the launch of early access, the game is very, very rough around the edges. The biggest and most glaring issue is the localization. The game was originally in Chinese, and it feels like they just used Google Translate to translate everything. There is no point to reading and paying attention to the lore and story bits the game has right now because most of it makes no sense, and some of the upgrades and item and weapon text are also really hard to understand. Sometimes I won't even pick an upgrade because I don't know for sure what it will do because it's in broken English. And this is something that I hope and really believe will be one of the first fixes they make. The game needs a solid English localization if it wants to thrive. The second biggest issue is overall polish needed, especially in the hub world and the UI, and especially the UI of some of the progression systems. They all could use a lot of touching up. Nothing in particular stands out, it all just kind of needs a facelift. Another big issue is the combat, and even though it's pretty good, the combat is a little rough around the edges when it comes to how fluid it feels. Sometimes people will get stuck on collision, or your projectiles will clip on invisible walls and stuff like that. And another real small thing is a lot of the times you can see the graphics in the game kind of pop in, so you'll go to a new area and you'll actually see the graphics of the grass or the enemies pop in. So that's a little jarring and definitely kind of takes you out of the game a little bit. So overall, Ancient Abyss is a roguelite that is very rough around the edges, but is extremely promising. The game just came out in early access, and so it does have the major localization and translation issues and a lack of polish in combat and presentation, but it does have some very fun and interesting mechanics and a solid, familiar feeling roguelite. In my opinion, if you see this gameplay and it absolutely speaks to you and you really want to play it, I would say it's worth picking up right now, even with its issues, but otherwise I would say maybe hold out for a couple updates when a lot of these issues will hopefully be fixed. But if you have played Ancient Abyss or just from watching gameplay, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Also, if you want to see even more gameplay of Ancient Abyss, I made a Let's Play that you should definitely check out, and I haven't shilled it in a while, but I got that podcast Neon Apes, where last episode we were talking about if Dark Souls should have an easy mode, so if that interests you, check that out as well. But if you're going to be grinding out some games of Ancient Abyss, I wish you guys luck, and see you all next time.